Yeah. So when
You
I
should
go
maybe put yourselves on mute.
so when I go to the door,
Do you hear that personal power that Tim's wielding? Does everybody hear that, Arletta? I can see your face finally. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you? It's good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We need to catch up.
We do.
I miss our convos.
There's nothing like them.
There is nothing like it. Okay, well,
Do.
it's 2:01, so I'm going to go back on mute.
I'm good.
okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. We're going to start the meeting now. Owing to my failure to properly read an email, I showed up at ALCOSAN and have caused a great deal of issues. They weren't expecting me to show up, but I'm here. And we'll open the meeting with a pledge of allegiance. If you would all please join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin the meeting with a roll call.
Nick Bianchi. Lisa Werder Bryan. They can't hear you, I don't think.
Here.
Okay. Kinsey Casey.
Here.
Darla Cravata.
Here.
Lloyd Cunningham. He's not coming. Dan DeMarco.
Here.
Patricia DeMarco. She's not coming. Tina Doucet. She's not coming. Ariam Ford Graver. Nick Resock.
Here.
Bob Grimm.
Present.
Mark Heckman. Rebecca Kernan. Ken Lasada.
Here.
Ruth Ann Omer.
Here.
Stanley Paps. Will Pickering. Mary Ellen Ramage.
Here.
Tim Rogers.
Here.
Mark Samponia.
Here.
Kathy Sapp.
Present.
Danielle Ventresca.
Here.
Max Junker.
Here.
You have a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda this afternoon is the annual reorganization of committee members, the election of the chair and vice chair, and Mr. Junker will be taking over for that. Max?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, in accordance with the bylaws of the ALCOSAN board, which created the advisory committee, that does state the advisory committee shall elect from its members a chairperson and a vice chairperson. The election shall be for 1-year terms and held at the first meeting of the advisory committee after January 1st of each year. That is the only requirement. There's no term limits. People can serve for multiple years. Our typical process when we're together, you can have some discussions beforehand. I will ask for a motion to open the floor for nominations, or if there's any discussion beforehand, Mr. Rogers, you're comfortable continuing to serve as chair, you're welcome to speak up. If anybody else wants to throw their hat in the ring before we open the floor for nominations, start considering that now. But as you're contemplating and considering that, I'll first ask for a motion to open the floor for nominations for chair. If we only have one nominee, we'll then have a motion to close the floor for nominations and cast a unanimous ballot. But if we have multiples, we'll conduct a vote. The majority of the quorum here today would carry the appointment as chairperson.
Ken Lasota here. I make a motion to open the floor for nominations.
Paul Grimm, second. Made by Mr. Lasota, seconded by Mr. Grimm. Floor is now open for nominations. They do not require a second. Anybody have a nomination for chair?
I nominate Tim Rogers.
I hear a nomination for Tim Rogers. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion to close the floor for nominations and direct the secretary to cast a unanimous ballot for Mr. Rogers.
I'll make
Do I have
the
the motion?
motion.
Let's have a motion by Mary Ellen, seconded by Mr.
Second, Nick
DeBrucco.
Griesok.
Seconded by Nick Griesok. All right, properly moved in second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Rogers.
I thank my colleagues. Thank you.
Won't yield the gavel just yet because we do need a vice chair. I believe Mark Sempogna has served as vice chair. I will entertain a motion to open the floor for nominations for vice chair of the advisory committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Ruth Ann.
Ruth Ann makes it. Is there a second?
I second Kathy Sapp.
Kathy, thank you. Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none, the floor is now open for nominations. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Mark Samponia to serve again.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Mark has been renominated. Are there any other nominations? What's that, Bob?
I'll second that. Oh, I did. That's right. We didn't need to. Sorry.
All right, that's all right. Any other nominations, though? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close the floor for nominations and direct the secretary to cast a unanimous ballot to Mark Sempogna as vice chairperson. Do I have that?
Motion to close the floor on nominations for vice chair.
Okay, I have that nomination. Is there, or I'm sorry, that motion. Is there a second?
Second, Bob Grimm.
Seconded by Mr. Grimm. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Hearing none, motion carries. Congratulations, Mark, and thank you both for your continued service. And I will yield the gavel back to our honorable chairperson.
Max, thank you very much. You carried that the transition off better than they're doing in DC.
That's true. Not saying much.
First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for November of 2020. Your pleasure.
I wanted to bring the body's notice to the fact that I sent out a second version of the minutes that have one change on them, which is to indicate on the last page that we had no public comment at the November meeting.
Very good. With that, council will take a motion for approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes as presented. Nick Griesok.
Second, Danielle Ventresco.
Motion and a second. Question on the motion. Question being called. In favor, give your consent by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it, so ordered. Next item is a discussion of a report to the ALCOSAN Board of Directors. Who's handling that? They've all received the draft report.
Yes, you all should have received the draft report.
And has everyone had a chance to review the draft report? Or are there any questions regarding the draft report? Or any suggestions?
This is Ruth Ann. No, I think it was well written and captured where we are, that we had our, our break because of COVID. And I just want to compliment whoever put it together. I have no comments.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman,
Ruth Ann. Yes.
I did find one typo. They were good. I reviewed them. I found a minor typo in the second bullet point. It's very minor. Let me get back to it. Get rid of you guys here. Under rates, at the very in the bullet point on rates, at the bottom, the last clause after economy there, I think it should say, and they want to know what the future will look like.
Thank you.
It's always good to have an attorney reviewing the minutes, isn't it, Dan?
Oh yeah, we count every word, man. One word could mean the difference between life and death.
That's right.
Depends on what the meaning of the word "it" is.
And yes. Any other suggestions or questions? Hearing none.
A comment, please. I want to make sure Jean receives credit for drafting the report. She put a lot of work into it, and I think it came out very well.
Thank you, Arletta.
Thank you. I just wanted to remind people that there will be 2 more attachments to this. The list of the members by terms of office and all of the minutes from the meetings we've held so far.
Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the report to the ALCOSAN Board of Directors.
I'll make that motion, Ruth Ann Omer.
Second, Dan DeMarco.
Motion and a second. Further question on the motion? Being called, all in favor, give your consent by saying aye.
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 No, any nays? The report is approved. Next item is a initial discussion of the rate structure.
Mr. Chairman, I am pleased to reintroduce to the committee our manager of accounting, better known as our rising, soon-to-be director of finance and administration, Karen Fantoni. Karen's going to walk you through a pretty comprehensive overview of rates. I realize that this is an item that you would like to have frequent reporting on, but this will give you the background, bring you up to speed for those future discussions. Karen?
Thank you, Arletta. Thank you, members of the committee. It's great to be here with you virtually this afternoon. I'm going to share my screen with you, so just bear with me just a second, please. All right, I don't see here.
There we go.
Okay. Can you see the rate history screen? I can see a nod.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'm going to just go like that. Makes it a little less busy. Okay. Related to our rate history, again, in front of you, you can see where we were back in 1998 and where we are today. That has been a long journey. We are at the very beginning of a long journey, and that journey is going to continue. Back in 1998, A lot of those initial years, those were annual rate increases. Every year we would evaluate where we were, what we needed, and we would propose what we thought the rates needed to be in order to be in compliance with everything. Back then in 2013, we decided as a group that it would be easier to go out and do what we considered a multi-year rate increase. So we did a 4-year rate increase. So we looked at 2014, 15, 16, and 17 as a group. And we proposed those to the board, and they approved those. And that was very well received. It was well received not only by our municipal customers who liked knowing what was coming and they could budget for that. But they also was well received by the rating agencies and the bond market. They also liked the security of not having every year to go back and repropose what that rate structure was going to look like in the near term. At the conclusion of that 4-year rate increase, we went back out in 2017 for the next 4-year rate increase, which took us through 2018, 19, 20, and 21. That was with 7.5% rate increases in 18 and then 7% 19, 20, and 21, which is this year. So right now we are at the last year of our last 4-year rate increase. So that's where we are today. And that's where we've been. Setting rates is a very complex process. What we look at when we look at setting rates, I mean, we have to cover our operating expenses. We have to look at what we consider our organic capital. So we have a $1 billion plant here, and we have to operate and maintain that plant. We're required to do that not only from good stewardship, but also from our trust indenture. You're going to hear a lot about our trust indenture. Our trust indenture governs a lot of what we do here and a lot of how we do what we do here. So we look at the organic capital, we look at our operating costs. We look at our very complex, legally mandated clean water program. We look at, and that, like I said, is very complex. We have to look at what's involved. We have to look at when do we think it's going to start? When are we going to bid the jobs? When do we think we're going to actually start the spend down process for those jobs? When are the jobs going to be completed? When are they going to now move from work in process into a fixed asset where we're going to be required to operate and maintain that asset? So there's a lot of involvement here, a lot of communication with not only finance, but also with our engineering department, with our regionalization department, and with our operation and maintenance department. It's truly a group effort when we start looking at what our rate structure needs to be. Most of our capital program is debt funded. So we're going to be looking at what debt do we need? When do we have to draw that debt down? What are the rates going to be? What's our debt service costs going to be? And when are we going to have to pay that money back? And what are the rates going to be when we have to pay that money back? So there's a lot of assumptions that are built into the forecasting of what those rates need to be going forward. We do all of this in conjunction with CDM Smith. CDM Smith is our wet weather program manager, and they have developed a comprehensive model that we've been using for over 15 years to help us with the rate setting process. It's very complex, very detailed, and it takes all those things I just talked about into consideration when they go in and set that model. I've actually already reached out to our consultant and let them know that because 2021 was the last year of our rate, we will start this process again this year. So we're in the process right now. I'm in the process of closing 2020. We have our financial statement audit on the horizon. Once that's completed and approved and accepted by the board at the March board meeting, we will immediately start working on our next multi-year rate increase. So we will kick that process off. We will update the actual 2020 figures in that model, and we will start adjusting all those assumptions and figuring out where we are, what is it that we need to be. Those assumptions change. When we first started looking at this, when we did that first 4-year rate increase, we thought we were going to be at double-digit rate increases from 2014 the whole way out through 2026. We didn't think we were going to see those rates drop below 10%. But when we went back to the drawing board back in 2017, looking forward, we were able to realize some savings, and we were at 7.5%. I'm not sure where we're going to be now. We're going to have to take a look at that, look at the assumptions, look at the debt, look at the rates. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot that goes into that process. So again, we work hand in hand with CDM Smith. Lastly, I just want to mention that our rates are reviewed by our consulting engineer every year as part of our consulting engineer report, which is included with our annual budget. They look at our rates and make sure that they are appropriate. So we have a second pair of eyes other than our consultant and our internal structure looking at those. So again, that's pretty much where we are from a rate perspective, what we're going to be. And we are going to, like I said, be coming to the board. Hopefully, we're targeting late this summer to go to the board with another multi-year rate increase for 2022 and forward. To help with that, another question that was raised was, what are we doing to help with those rate increases? Obviously, we understand that those rate increases are hard to pay for some of our more vulnerable neighbors. And we started in 2017 the Clean Water Assistance Program. Since the inception of that program, we have funded over $600,000 of grants to our customers, our municipal customers. It's open to all 83 of our municipal customers. Anyone who meets the eligibility requirements is eligible to apply for those grants. This program is administered through the Dollar Energy Fund, which makes it nice because we at ALCOSAN, we do not accumulate any of this data. We don't have any of the customer data. We don't have their income. We don't have their social security numbers. We don't collect and hold any of that information internally. That is all done by a third party that's geared to doing this full time. In order to be eligible for this program, the customers must have a gross income of 150% or lower of the federal poverty guidelines. So that is part of the criteria, which is pretty standard for a lot of these types of programs. It provides credit to the customer's water bill or their sewer bill for $35 a quarter is what we are attributing to that, which covers basically the water usage for 1 month a quarter. Which is how we've calculated that. Again, we've paid out over $600,000 since 2017. Over 3,500 customers have availed themselves of the program. Just in 2020, we paid out over almost $240,000 just in 2020. So that program is ramping up. It's growing in popularity and need. And there were, in 2020, there were over 2,300 participants in the program. And that is what I have for you today, this afternoon. So if there's questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Any questions? Karen?
Yeah, one question. I'm sorry, Nick Resock. The program that you just described, how would customers, what's their best way of getting more information on that?
There's a variety of ways to get information on that. It is distributed. It was distributed out through Dollar Energy. So you can go to the Dollar Energy website. You can go to the ALCOSAN website. The ALCOSAN website has links to help customers find their way to the Dollar Energy program site. And it was also originally discussed and administered through a lot of community groups. So a lot of your community groups where you can find out through other types of programs like this, through like the PWSA program or the actual electric program, those sites will also refer them back to Dollar Energy. But the best way is to go through Dollar Energy or through ALCOSAN.
Great, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, Ken Lasota here. Would you be able to send us an electronic version of that table of rate data that you displayed?
Absolutely. We can
Thank you.
make that available. I'll make it available to Jean, and I know Jean has your contact information and should be able to send it out to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for the same thing. Thank you, Karen. Are you subject to a 537 rate review by the Commonwealth?
We are not.
You are not. Okay. Have you capitalized in your prior rate increases? Is there a capital reserve for anticipated future projects?
Do we capitalize in a rate? We don't capitalize that as part of our rate structure.
Okay. Is there any chance that the rate structure going forward could avoid a rate increase in 22?
And I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is there any chance that we could avoid a rate increase in 2022?
I can't really speak to that until we've actually gone through and started with the modeling. I would not anticipate that we would be able to avoid a rate increase.
Okay.
I do believe that would be highly unlikely.
Okay. And I'm not sure I understand, in the past rate increases,
Yes.
was there any money set aside in anticipation of future capital expenditures, tunneling, things like that?
Yes, we self-fund certain capital items. Like, for example, the GROW program. The GROW program is a $100 million program that is self-funded through our rate structure. So we have money set aside for the GROW program.
What percent of the annual budget is debt service?
I can get that for you. It's significant. That's a good question. Debt service is 36.7% of our budget.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Is there anything that the group would like to have in the future regarding the rates? I was going to ask for the same thing, so if we send out the rate structure history, that would be helpful for the electeds that we serve to see where the rate structure's been. But is there anything else that my colleagues would like to have information on?
And this is Ruth Ann, and I apologize, maybe it's already out there and I haven't seen it lately. Is there a recent study that shows all the rates that all the municipalities charge at this point? Three Rivers Wet Weather did one years ago. I don't know if it's current, because in talking about the rates, it's kind of nice to see, we know ALCOSAN's rate. And then if there's something simple that someone can direct me to, I would appreciate it.
Ruth Ann, I believe Three Rivers updated theirs just maybe 2 years ago. Mary Ellen, you're nodding your head. Are you aware?
Yeah, I actually think they thought they did it every year. We usually get a request somewhere around February, March, because that's when municipalities haven't instituted any rate increases themselves. So they would probably have the most recent.
Okay, Ruth.
Okay, thank you.
To that end, I will contact Three Rivers Wet Weather tomorrow and ask them to get an updated and get it to Jean so that Jean can get it out, if they have an updated one.
Thank you.
Sure.
Tim, I have a question. This is Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa.
I have a question for Karen. Karen, you mentioned the debt service and it being a fairly, seemed like a little bit more than a third of the budget. Is that typical, or is that, or is it something that the organization should be concerned about?
No, that's typical. And it's going to increase. And we acknowledge the fact that it's going to increase. In fact, as we go through bond issues, we know that through the course of this clean weather program, this clean water program that we are legally committed to doing, we are going to need to borrow substantial money. We're talking probably $2.3 billion worth of money that we are going to be borrowing over the next less than 20 years. So that debt service percentage is going to increase substantially. And we've acknowledged that. The rating agents have acknowledged that. We know that. And which is why the rates are going to have to continue to go up, because we are we have to cover the debt service. And we're under again, the trust indenture requires certain debt service coverage ratios that we have to meet with that debt. And we know that debt's going to be out there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Update on modified transfer agreements. There are Zoom meetings.
We have a couple of meetings coming up next week. Right now, we're going to walk you through a brief update and part of what will be seen next week. I believe Jan is addressing this, or Jan and Alexis are addressing this.
Sure. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. We're just going to talk about these two upcoming meetings. And I have provided before in the past the updates on the modified agreement, but we'll go through that again. And then we'll talk about how you can help, because you have been very instrumental in getting the solicitors group together and working through these. And from my understanding, I talked to Ramel Nicholas today, and he was reminding me again how at the end of the process, the group of solicitors was very satisfied with what they ended up with. Next slide. So these are the two meetings. They are Zoom meetings, January 25th at 10:30 a.m. and January 26th at 5 p.m. Alexis, 43 folks have registered so far, is that correct?
Yes, we have 43 registrations distributed across both.
And you sent out the invitations?
They went out last week, and we sent one to each municipality and explained that if they do want to share it with whomever, if they want to share it with council, solicitors, or engineers, they're welcome to do so.
Okay. Next slide. So this was a big one. The municipal indemnification and liabilities will end 12 years from the date of transfer. You know, we started off with 21. You folks came back with 6. You know, everybody recognized that there had to be some retained liability associated with the facilities. So this is where we finally negotiated to 12. I mean, this is the one that, you know, we'll be working with the municipalities to make sure that when there needs to be a repair, there is an easement that we can get access to the facilities, that we can work together on making these repairs. So this is that area. The other thing, and it was interesting going in because I didn't quite understand, you know, their concern about illegal connections, because all municipalities have ordinances and they know that they have to work in getting illegal connections of stormwater and driveway drains out of sanitary sewers. But there was not a clear enough distinction between unauthorized connections, which are connections that could occur to the newly transferred sewers that were not approved, and the municipalities did not want responsibility, you know, associated with that. They do recognize that, you know, the illegal connections, you know, are something that they will continue to work on and make sure that they're addressed. Number 3 is, you know, no objection to development as long as it is not going to take any of the municipalities into, you know, unapproval with their 537 plans. So, you know, this was one of those items that we had to make more clear and, you know, allow for the development that really regionalization was created to address. Number 4 is municipal cooperation with ALCOSAN on its wet weather compliance improvements. And so this is, facilities. We know that facilities are going to need to be constructed as part of the municipal sewer system as well, the transferred sewers. So this is, so that we continue to work together to make those improvements, and we would try to make them within the public right of way. If we need to put them in a baseball field, we'll try to put them out in center field versus the pitching mound. So those are the kind of things that we're trying to address there, to utilize, public land, but also to work with municipalities in doing that. And then we added, and this was an ALCOSAN ad, was the cooperation on stream removal projects, because we have just found that the amount of flow, the amount of debris, the maintenance intensity associated with streams connected to the sewer system, that, most people will agree that they need to be removed. So this is a effort that if the sewer is going to be transferred and there is a stream connected, that the municipality will work with ALCOSAN to remove that stream from the sewer system. And then lastly, with the manhole location and inspections, when we did our CCTV inspections, we did go out and identify manholes initially. Some of them we were unable to locate, above ground. We were able to locate them through the inspection. But this would allow us to call on the municipality for assistance in inspecting those manholes. And in addition to that, there were some sewers that, because of the defect associated with the sewer, that after that improvement is made to the sewer, that the municipality would go back and do that inspection that we were unable to do at the time of doing that inspection. And then lastly, we're just talking here about how you can help. I mean, so obviously, you being aware of what is going on and being able to answer questions that people may have. So attending these briefings, this one too is as well, but the ones on the 25th and 26th, are important as well. And you could promote the attendance of your other representatives. And then, just ensuring that the agreements are properly understood. Please feel free to ask questions, participate in any discussions. I mean, that's really, I don't know, Alexis, do you want to add to that?
I think what we really need, I think where you guys could be the most helpful would be getting the conversations going, because we have a lot of people who are done with repairs or almost done with their repairs and could move on to the next step of transferring. So it's kind of just getting them across that hump of where they are now and getting them comfortable with the transfer agreement, with communicating with us about any questions or concerns they have. People oftentimes wait to see what other people are going to do. And so we're hoping that by getting these conversations moving forward a little bit, it's going to help others feel more comfortable. So we encourage people to ask questions, especially during the briefings, but even outside of the briefings, contact any of us. Would love to continue to have the conversations and answer questions or address concerns if you have them.
Are we allowed to ask questions at this point?
Sure.
This is Ruth. I didn't know if you were done or not, Jen. I didn't want to interrupt your presentation.
Nope, this is a fine time to do that. Maybe we can get rid of, yeah, there we go.
Okay. One of my questions is, you say that the solicitors group is good to go with this. So I assume that we have asked and encouraged all the solicitors to go back to their communities and recommend approval. We all know, and working in the municipal world, solicitors and at times even engineers are valued their opinions. So I'm assuming that that's the first, group we have going out there to tell municipalities we're good to go. Is that kind of what the solicitors group has indicated at this point, that they would do that?
Yes, that's what Ramel was relating back to me. I mean, Max, you were part of the
Right. We as Jen and as we've gone over some of the history, I mean, the negotiations over the last year were with a core group of solicitors that represented a number of communities and sort of distilled some concerns that the solicitors at large had with the form transfer agreement. And so as that process wound down to a red line that was comprehensive, that had all the changes, Three Rivers Wet Weather did hold 3 separate Zoom meetings, much like this, where Ramel and Cliff Levine went through essentially the 10 points of changes or so, and let the solicitors group at large know that the core solicitors group work was done. They were satisfied. As everybody's mentioned, the solicitors didn't get everything they wanted, and ALCOSAN didn't get everything that we wanted. So the compromise that you get. And that the recommendation from the core group to all the solicitors to take back to their municipalities were that this is the best deal that anybody's going to get. It's going to be uniform across the system. They will receive an updated binder with the new modified transfer agreement to essentially replace what they'd received before. And so that was the send out. I think what Jan and Alexis are talking about now is the follow-up one-on-one between ALCOSAN and municipal elected officials to inform them that that is coming, that will be hitting their mailboxes momentarily. And here is what had been changed from the version you got. And we did do 6 sort of regional rollout presentations back in, I think it was January 2019. So at least municipal officials had an understanding of what it was at that point. This is sort of closing the loop, explaining what has changed since then, and that it has an endorsement, as it were, from Three Rivers Wet Weather and the solicitors, that this is the agreement as it stands.
Right. If I could add to that, Max, we wanted to make sure we were consistent with the message that, to all the municipalities. We know and have heard from some that were not aware that there were revisions going on. And so I wanted to make sure that the information got shared with everybody directly from ALCOSAN about where we stand right now. They will be receiving new agreements, so that won't be a surprise to everybody. And then also give them an opportunity to ask questions if they don't understand.
And I know, Jan, you spoke about this already, I think, but on the easement issues. So we all know that there's stores out there without easements. So it's agreed upon that that's understood. And that as it goes forward, then new easements will just have to be obtained at the time if any work is needed. Is that sort of everyone's understanding?
After the 12 years. After the 12 years, it will be ALCOSAN's responsibility to get that new easement, and we would get them as needed. But before that 12 years, we'll be relying on the municipality to get us that access to the sewer that might need a repair.
Okay. And then to help promote the meeting, which isn't that far off, is it possible just to get a short blurb by email to all of us? It's just a little paragraph announcing it, what's its content, why you should attend. And then we can take that and forward that to our different municipalities in our basins or people that we know to encourage attendance, because 40 people signing up over the whole ALCOSAN service area right now doesn't seem like a whole lot to me. Unless they're really 40 critical key people, that's all we need, because they're the movers and shakers, you know what I mean? But I would bet we want a few more people. And have the engineers weighed in on this agreement at all? Are they also the engineers working group supporting this?
I'm not sure that the engineers have been working on the repairs, to the defect reports and collecting the data and handing that over to ALCOSAN to put into the asset management software. They have not been involved in the modifications to the agreement. They certainly were involved in the development of the, way back with the transfer template. But they haven't been directly involved with the modifications.
Okay, I just would hate to see if there's some outcast engineer out there about, you know what I mean, saying, oh, you shouldn't do this. You know, if anybody's ever heard of that, so then we could focus in, or I'd be happy to focus in on that person. You know, but it doesn't, you know, I haven't heard anything to that extent yet, but I haven't really asked around. So, okay, that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Ruth Ann, I would be happy to send you a short little blurb if you want to send it around to your municipal connections. I know also Jean was going to be sending out the municipal newsletter, and there was going to be a blurb in there as well. I'm not positive if that went out yet, Jean, but I know
No,
that
it's
that was
coming out this week.
okay. There'll be more information in that as well.
Right. Sometimes it's just helpful if you can, you know, reach out to a few people and say, hey, you better get on this, because I don't want to hear about it a year from now. I had a beer at the bar that you didn't like it because you didn't go and attend. So happy to help.
Agreed.
And
Get
hey,
that out to the
Mackenzie, sorry, go ahead, Arletta.
We'll get that out to the committee. Sorry.
Thanks. And this might be a question for Max, but do you know, and I'm sorry if I missed this, was City Law part of that core group of solicitors, the Pittsburgh part of that core group?
No, I don't believe we had Yvonne or Lorraine in that put together with Three Rivers Wet Weather. I think there was at least one, because I believe a draft of the pre-modified version had been sent on to the city and PWSA, but had been sort of pulled back or put the brakes on because of these discussions that were going on.
Okay. Yeah, Alexis, if you could send me that blurb too. I just want to make sure that we have someone from Pittsburgh City Law Department on the calls next week.
We did send it out to Yvonne, and I do have a couple people already from the city who I think of RSVP, but I'll still send it to you and you can share it just in case other people would be interested.
That would be great. Yep, I just forwarded them the invite, but I didn't see anyone else that was on there, so I didn't know who had been invited.
Got it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Jan, has ALCOSAN considered a working relationship with some of the municipalities who have jet trucks, camera trucks, where we might be able to provide a service to ALCOSAN that would be less expensive than subcontractors that you may have? And I don't know if that creates a union issue for ALCOSAN, but I wondered if I don't expect that you've considered that yet, but it might be a suggestion to take a look at that. You might be able to develop a relationship. We're there, so there would be no cost of travel or marshaling equipment. And we could probably beat any prices that subcontractors have out there.
Sounds like something we should explore.
Thank you. Any other questions? Hearing none, a discussion of the advisory committee role in assisting the municipalities, which I think we've kind of touched on. I think the best thing that we could do is to try to get as many people as we can to bump up the number of attendees for this Zoom meeting that they're having on the 25th or the 26th. And I think that's the best thing. If there's any other suggestions that the committee has, I'm welcome to hear them.
Well, I just wanted to thank the team at ALCOSAN. I had requested, I don't know if it's going to be talked about or not, I requested a map. I should know all the municipalities in my basin. I know you guys are probably thinking that, but I requested a map. They put that together, and also the list of the municipalities, because I think one of the things that we can all do is use that to make sure, I'm going to be reaching out to Mark and Mayor in our Chartiers Basin to see how we can organize to reach out to all our municipalities and get more feedback. Because one of the things on the agenda here, as you just brought up, is our reports for our activities within our basins. And how do we go about getting that to make sure, we can have that for these meetings. So I think it's great. Of course, I have one framed on my wall. I'm sure everybody does, right? Of all the ALCOSAN basins. It's a nice wooden frame too. Anyways, I just think that, that's one of the things that I'm going to work on with my fellow people, my two other gentlemen, on how we can get better communication, how we can hear more about projects, and then just promote the communication with ALCOSAN. And obviously there's these meetings, there's us, there's all kinds of ways to keep the communication going, especially with the rate increase coming. We want to make sure that people understand that. So I just want to thank the team, whoever's responsible, for that work. And there is I saw Darla popped up on the chat. Yes, Darla, I've also requested, because, I'm age challenged with my glasses since 4th grade, larger versions of it, because the small version's kind of tough. And I don't want to miss out on one municipality. So anyways, thank you, team, for doing that.
Any discussions or any reports from the various basins on any activities within your basins?
Mr. Chairman, before we go too far,
Go ahead, Arletta.
those
Sorry.
maps have been in production and they will be coming out probably tomorrow.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Arletta. Any general discussions?
I just want to update that the Pine Creek Watershed WIP that we've spoken about a couple times is in final draft form, and they have connected with the Allegheny County Hazard Mitigation Plan update. So 2 weeks ago, everybody in the Pine Creek Watershed was sent a list of their projects that were submitted in the Hazard Mitigation Plan, and asked if it was okay to include them in the WIP. So I think the deadline was last week, so I kind of sent a reminder out. So I'm hoping that we were supposed to have the draft WIP done by the end of December, but that's gone a little further. Tetra Tech's working on that now, so we should have that completed, I would imagine, by February 1st or so for the communities to adopt, and we can get you a copy of that too.
Anything else? Thank you, Mary Ellen. And Mary Ellen, thanks for all the work you did. You pretty much did all the work on the WIP. So those of us upstream appreciate your efforts. Anything else for the general welfare of the organization?
I just wanted to congratulate Commissioner Dan DeMarco and now being the head honcho of the commissioners at Ross Township. You had to
Thank you very much.
somebody ahead of you, but
Hey, Dan, you had it like a Godfather moment. You got out of there and they pulled you back in.
I know. I hear you, buddy. You know what that's all about.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah. Tonight's my first meeting.
Oh, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah.
and I didn't know if you wanted to talk about whether to meet over the summer or not.
Yeah, we presented you with an advisory committee meeting schedule. One of the truly big disappointments for all of us is that we're not able to gather. And apparently I didn't get the message that I wasn't supposed to be here today. But it's really very difficult for us to conduct this way, and I appreciate your patience in doing that. But we proposed, I'm hoping that we're all going to get vaccines here in the next couple of months and we can all get together and figure this out. But there is a proposed meeting schedule, and that meeting schedule includes meetings in the summer and also in December. And I would welcome any suggestions or comments regarding the meeting schedule so that we can approve it. That would be our next item on the agenda. But is there any opinions about, do we need to meet monthly? And I'd throw that out to the membership.
This is Darla. Although I'm technically not a member, I'm going to say yes. We had 1 year of, it took us a long time to get here, a very long time. And many of you have been on this journey with as a team since 2012 or beyond. So at this point, I'd like to suggest that we continue to meet monthly. And if there's not a need for a meeting, to cancel at that point. But I think we're just getting started.
I think that's a good suggestion, Darla.
In my humble opinion, of course.
Which we all value and respect.
This is Ruth Ann. I completely agree. The only thing I would say is if things start to open up and people do get vaccinations, we might want to look at taking a month off in the summer, because I would bet everybody on this screen is going to be someplace other than their house. I'm not even being funny. I mean, I think we just, if we approve the schedule, but just with a little flexibility, because I do think, and I wouldn't fault anybody, you know what I mean, at this point. So I would like to suggest that if we approve it, just with some flexibility to maybe revisit it, Mr. Chairman, at the beginning of the summer, and just see where we all are and see if we want to take July off or something. I don't know, just so we know.
So I think a recommendation is to approve the 2021 meeting schedule as it is presented. And then each month we'll consider whether we want to do the following month meeting. So can we have a motion to approve the advisory committee meetings as scheduled?
So moved. Mark Champagne.
Second.
Motion and a second. Question on the motion. Being called in favor, giving consent by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it, so ordered. Finally, any public comment?
No, there's no.
There's a public here, so on behalf of the public, we think you guys are doing a hell of a job.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes.
just want to make a comment. There doesn't seem, although we have all these subjects on the agenda, I don't know if we could add in the future just a section of just committee discussion in general among us, if we have anything we want to bring up for discussion.
Absolutely. That's a standing thing for every meeting, Ruth Ann. And I'm glad you reminded me to bring that up. Is there anything that anybody would like on the next agenda? Any issues that they would like to have reviewed by, in presentation by ALCOSAN?
Mine isn't so much an agenda to review by ALCOSAN. I would just like to bring up, in reviewing the minutes and reviewing the report, stormwater keeps coming up.
Yes.
You know, we have these discussions about, and I realize Patty, who's brought that up, is not on the call, but that's not really our direction to talk about stormwater. I mean, I think we were pretty clear, and I don't want to get anybody's hopes or anticipation up that we're going to get involved in some sort of study or something, if you know what I mean. And I don't know, and if I am wrong, please correct me. It's just, I keep reading about it, you know, in the minutes and different things. And I thought, Tim, you made it pretty clear at one point. I mean, are we going to get in any discussion about stormwater or not?
Ruth Ann, to the extent that what I'm about to opine on is relevant, I don't think we should wade in any degree stormwater. That is not the charge of ALCOSAN. It's the responsibility of the individual municipalities, except for and to the extent that any stream removals or any other kind of entry of stormwater into the ALCOSAN system could be dealt with. But I don't think we should burden either ALCOSAN or its staff with stormwater issues. Those issues are best left to the municipalities in whatever direction they want to take those.
Can we put that in the minutes, just so, like I said, I don't want to have any member have false, hope or, that we're going in some different direction, because I agree with you, this committee is pretty well defined, and I just thought I would mention it. So thank you for that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And it is in the minutes. Stevie's taken that down. We'll make sure that's in there clearly. And also I would add that if any member has an objection to not having stormwater, I encourage them to contact me directly, and then I'll try to walk that through with that individual member colleague. And if there's nothing else for the good of the order, and if there's no objection, we are adjourned. And thank you again very much for taking the time to be with us electronically. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.